Hi everyone, welcome to Teacher Gideon Learning channel. If you are joining me for the first time, make sure you subscribe my YouTube channel, you like and you comment. Also make sure you go through the videos, you watch the previous videos to gain more knowledge in both English, integrated science, biology and even chemistry. When I usually mark composition, I realize that most learners they don't know when they are supposed to use a capital letter, when they are supposed to use a full stop, when are they supposed to use a question mark, when are they supposed to use a comma, where are they supposed to use semicolon, and so many other punctuation marks. So you find that they continuously do the same mistakes repeatedly, again and again. But if you are among now those ones who have been having that problem, I hope today that after watching this video, it is going to mark the end of that era. I would like us to learn about now the punctuation. You find that punctuation marks make any written text easy to read and understand. So you find that if there was no punctuation marks, reading could have been difficult. You could have struggled reading maybe without even pausing. You should have even gotten very tired. So punctuation they make any written text easy to read and understand. Without punctuation, writing will not make sense. Imagine now there is a sentence that has been written there and there is no punctuation mark. So that sentence is not going to make sense because it is not punctuated. So under the punctuation marks, I would like us to start with a full stop. The first punctuation mark is the full stop. And you can be able to see from both ends how a full stop is being written. It is just a dot. You find that under a full stop is being used at the end of a sentence. If you have written your sentence and you have finished writing the sentence, at the end of that sentence you just place a full stop. A good example, he went to town. He went to town. So at the end of that sentence that he went to town, you're supposed to make a full stop to show that the sentence has ended. Then use after an abbreviation. Abbreviation is where you find that you are shortening a certain word. For example, the word president from these notes, it has been abbreviated to press. Press is where you find that now they have written the word press, and at the end of that word press, there is a full stop that is there. So you find that the full stop is also being used after an abbreviation. Also, you can abbreviate other words, doctor, to be doc, D-O-C. But remember, at the end of that abbreviation, you have to put a full stop. Teacher, you can abbreviate the word teacher to be TR, capital TR, capital T, small r. Then you put a full stop. Then another example is Mr. Instead of writing Mr., that is M-I-S-T-E-R, you can write it capital M, small r, then you put a full stop. So you find that these full stops are being used at the end of abbreviation. So you find that the main uses of full stop is at the end of a sentence and also after an abbreviation. Then the second punctuation mark is question mark. A question mark appears at the end of a question. It appears at the end of a question. Example, who left the gate open? Who left the gate open? Where did you hide the ring? Where did you hide the ring? Did you eat? Did you eat? So those are examples of questions. And at the end of those questions, you can be able to see we are having a question mark. So you find that this question mark is being used at the end of a question. Then the next one is exclamation mark. Exclamation mark appears at the end of an exclamation. That is a sentence that shows strong emotions or feelings. So if you find that there is a certain sentence that is trying to bring a certain emotions or a certain feeling, you're supposed to place an exclamation mark at the end. Examples: help, help. Maybe you're shouting to someone to help you. So at the end of that, you're trying to show that emotion of being in need. So there must be an exclamation mark at the end. Don't run! Don't run! Maybe now you are warning someone, and maybe he or she is running to somewhere, or maybe somewhere where is somewhere that is very dangerous. So you are warning that person, don't run. Or maybe you want to punish that person, don't run. Huh? So another one, stop. Stop. Stop is also now you are trying to bring the emotion of a warning. There is a warning. Maybe there is something dangerous. You are warning someone. Stop. Stop. Or you can even command. You are commanding. Stop. So you find that these exclamation marks, they appears at the end of an exclamation. Then any of the above, there is NB, NB. Any of the above three punctuation marks can be used to end a sentence. So be it a full stop, be it a question mark, be it an exclamation mark, they are being used to end a sentence. They can be used to end a sentence. Then another punctuation mark is capital letter. Capital letter. You find that capital letters, most learners, they don't know when, where, and how are they supposed to use a capital letter. They don't know when and where are they supposed to use a capital letter. You find that a student has written well, maybe a sentence, but in between he or she has written capital letters. You can't understand why did he or she choose this word to have a capital letter. So the first function of a capital letter, sentences always begin with a capital letter. So if you are writing down a sentence, make sure the first letter of that sentence should start with a capital letter. Example, they went across the road to buy ice cream. They went across the road to buy ice cream. So you find that letter T has been written with a capital letter. Another use, the second use of a capital letter, proper nouns must be written in a capital letter. Remember the other day we learned about proper nouns, the types of nouns, proper nouns, common nouns, abstract nouns, concrete nouns, countable nouns, and countable nouns. We said under proper nouns, we said that a proper noun should, the first letter of a proper noun should be written with capital letter, should be written in a capital letter. So examples, Mike, America, Master Street, Boxbag, etc. should start with a capital letter. Then the third use of a capital letter is main words in titles must appear in capital letters. Example, the Lord of the Flies, the Lord of the Flies. You can be able to see from that example, the main words, they are started with a capital letter. there is a main word, the capital letter T. There is capital letter T there. Lord. Lord is also a main word. It has been written at the L. The first letter of that main word is having the capital L. Flies. Flies. Flies is also another main word in that title of that. Maybe it can be a series or a movie, or maybe a book. So flies, F has been written with a capital letter also. Then another place where you find that capital letters can be used. A capital letter can also be used. The first word in a direct speech must be in a capital letter if it is the start of the spoken sentence. So you find that if direct speech these are the direct words that someone spoke. These are the direct words that someone spoke. The quoted words that someone said. She said, must we always agree with her? She said, must we always agree with her? So you find that the first letter of that direct speech, it has started with a capital letter, must. Must. She said, must we always agree with her? Then the third use of a capital letter, used in personal pronoun. Used in personal pronoun. One day also we are going to learn about pronouns, and you find that a pronoun is a word that is being used to replace a noun in a sentence. Instead of saying John has a ball, John is playing the ball, you can just say John. Instead of saying John, it is going to be he. He is having a ball. He is playing it. He is playing it. So you find that pronouns are just words that are being used to replace a noun. So the personal pronoun I is a good example of personal pronoun. I returned the bag. So I should be a capital letter. Should I go to the road trip? Should I go to the road trip? You can be able to see those two sentences. I has been written in capital letter. So whether used at the beginning or middle of a sentence, the personal pronoun must always be a capital. Don't forget that one. Whether it is a beginning of a sentence or middle of a sentence, the personal pronoun must begin with a capital letter. Then another one is inverted commas. You can be able to see the way inverted commas are being used. The first use of the inverted commas, it is being used to indicate direct speech, i.e., that is the actual spoken words. That's under the direct speech. Remember, direct speech, these are now the quoted words of someone said. Those quoted words that someone said are going to be direct speech. So you find that when you are writing a direct speech, the quoted words, the spoken words should be inside an inverted commas. So a comma must appear before opening the inverted commas, before opening the inverted commas. The final punctuation mark must appear before closing with inverted commas. Example, Mrs. Roberts said, there's no homework for today. Mrs. Roberts said, there's no homework for today. So you can be able to see from that statement, there are some inverted commas at the beginning of those words that Mrs. Roberts said, and also at the end of that, at the end of those words that Mrs. Roberts said. Then the second use of inverted commas, to quote from a play, story, poem, or speech. So if you want to quote some title of a certain play or maybe to quote some words in a play, you're supposed to use inverted commas. You want to quote a story, you have to use inverted commas. You want to quote a certain poem, you're supposed to use also inverted commas. You want to quote speech. President Uhuru once said, you put the words that President Uhuru said, then you close the bracket, you start with inverted commas, then also you close with inverted commas. Example, William Shakespeare said, all the world is a stage. William Shakespeare said, all the world is a stage. So you can be able to see, all the world is a stage. Those are the direct words that once William Shakespeare said, and they have to be quoted with inverted commas. The third use of inverted commas used to show titles. Mark Twain's novel, Mark Twain's novel is called The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. So you find that from that statement, it has been, the inverted commas have been used to show the title. Mark Twain's novel is called The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. So you find that the Adventures of Tom Sawyer is the title of that novel that Mark Twain wrote, and they should be written in inverted commas. The full stop appears after the final inverted commas because this is not a quote or direct speech. So you are supposed to know, when you are writing a title, the full stop should be the last one. But if it was maybe you are quoting specific words, the full stop should be inside the inverted commas. I don't know if you have understood me. I'm going to repeat again. If you have quoted a title for a certain book, that title, at the end of that title, you have to quote using inverted commas, then you put a full stop at the end. But if now you want to quote some words that someone said, the full stop should come faster, then followed now the inverted comma at the end. I hope you have understood that one. Then the next one is now comma. A comma is, you can be able to see how the comma is being written. A comma is used to separate items on a list. A comma is being used to separate, the first function of a comma, to separate items on a list. That both pens, books, erasers, and glue. That both pens, books, erasers, and glue. There's no comma before and. You're supposed to place, maybe after the word eraser, you're supposed to place another comma. No. That both pens, books, erasers, and glue. Mom went to the market and bought oranges, bananas, avocado, and tomatoes. Mom went to the market and bought oranges, bananas, avocado, and tomatoes. Then the second use of a comma shows additional information. Shows additional information. So you may find that there is a statement, and that statement it is having added information that is unnecessary. But now, to separate that added information, you have to place a comma. A good example, Ronaldo, the famous soccer player, scored the winning goal. So from that statement, you can be able to see that Ronaldo is the one who scored the goal. But now there is some added information in that statement. The famous soccer player. So that information of the famous soccer players was unnecessary. You can ignore and say Ronaldo scored the winning goal. But now, if there's additional information in that statement, you are supposed to place you're supposed to place a comma in between. Ronaldo, the famous soccer player, scored the winning goal. Brackets or dashes can also be used to show additional information. So if you want to use a bracket or a dash, you can also use it to show additional information besides using a comma. Then another use of a comma, placed before and after certain conjunctions. Conjunctions are just joining words. They just join maybe one statement with another, or they just join one word with another word. Example, he went to town. There's a comma, but forgot to buy his shoes. He went to town. There's a comma, but forgot to buy his shoes. So you can be able to see before the word but, there's a comma. He went to town, comma, but forgot to buy his shoes. Then another example, nevertheless, she'll make up for her mistake. Nevertheless, comma, she'll make up for her mistake. So that is the other use of a comma, placed before and after a certain conjunction. Come able to see the first statement, the comma has been used before a conjunction, and the second statement, the comma has been used after a conjunction. Then another use of a comma, used after introductory words in a direct speech. So after you have written your introductory words, you are supposed to place a comma. Then now you quote the words. Remember from the previous uh, from the previous punctuation marks, we have learned about inverted commas. For example, that statement of Mrs. Roberts said, "There's no homework for today." You can be able to see after introducing the words Mrs. Roberts said. Before introducing Mrs. Roberts, there's a comma. I mean after introducing, there's a comma. Mrs. Roberts said, there's a comma there. So same to this, even this one of William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare said, there's a comma. All the world is a stage. So we find that these commas, they're being used after introductory words in direct speech. Example, Bill said, I'll meet her. Bill said, I'll meet her. So we find that after the word said, there is a comma. John said, I'll go to the market. John said, so there is a comma there after the word said, I'll go to the market. Another example, Joanne asked, can I come with? It was supposed to be, can I come with you? Can I come with you? Joanne asked, can I come with you? So you find that a comma is being used after introductory words in a sentence. The last use of a comma is being used to separate repeated words in a sentence. A comma is being used to separate repeated words in a sentence. Example, whatever you want to say it now. I'm able to see there's a repetition of the word say, but in between that those words, there's a comma. Whatever you want to say it now. So you find that a comma, the last use of a comma is used to separate repeated words in a sentence. Another punctuation mark is colon. You can be able to see the colon. Colon are just two full stops. So A colon, the first use of a colon, introduces list of items. So if you want to introduce a certain list of items, you're supposed to place a colon. After placing a colon, now you start mentioning those items. Example, the following are harmful to our planet. Then there is a colon. Pollution, poaching, global warming, and global warming, sorry. The following are harmful to our planet. Then there's a colon. Pollution, poaching, and global warming. Even same to that one, same to this. Let us go back to uses of a comma. So not a comma, but where is it? Yeah, under the uses of a comma. Remember we said a comma is being used to separate items on a list. And the first example was that bought pens, books, erasers, and glue. So from this statement, also you can use a colon to show the list of items that Dad bought. So you can write Dad bought, you place a colon, pens, books, erasers, and glue. So you find that a colon is being used to introduce list of items. The second use of a colon introduces a quotation. Nelson Mandela said, an example, Nelson Mandela said, "It was a long walk to freedom." It was a long walk to freedom. So another use, you find that this colon specifically, it is just replacing the comma. The other function of the comma, we say that it's being used after introductory words. Same to this one. Same to this colon. Nelson Mandela said, you place a colon. It was a long walk to freedom. Then another use of a colon, used in script writing. That is a dialogue or plays. A colon follows the speaker. So you find that if you are reading a play is now that type of novel where you find that there are some characters are talking, they're exchanging ideas. So after writing the name of that person, you are supposed to place a colon. For example, we are having this example, Jason, where did you go? So you find that those words, that was Jason who was asking, where did you go? Then there's now Ben. I went to look for the boat. I went to look for the boat. So you find that a colon is being used in script writing. They are dialogue. A dialogue is a communication between two or more people. But if it's a monologue, that's now communication between one person. Maybe you are sharing your inner thoughts. Another punctuation mark is semicolon. Semicolon is now a full stop and a comma. The first use of a semicolon, it indicates a long pause. Pause is now where you want to pause for a while. Indicates a long pause, shorter than a full stop, and longer than a comma. So it is shorter than a full stop and longer than a comma. Example, let me try to use a semicolon from this example to indicate a long pause. Paul reached a decision. He will not run away from home. Paul reached a decision. He will not run away from home. So you can be able to see there was a long pause in between. So a semicolon is being used to show a long pause. Another example for semicolon used to show two opposite ideas. used to show two opposite ideas. Example, Paul was lonely. Eventually, he made friends. So that those are contrary ideas. They are contradicting each other. This Paul initially was lonely, but maybe after coping, he made friends. So a semicolon is used to show two opposite ideas. Paul was lonely. Eventually, he made friends. May be replaced by a full stop or a conjunction, and, but, so, for, although. Yeah, you can replace now this semicolon from that statement by using a conjunction. But if you don't want to use a conjunction, you just place a semicolon. Example, it can be Paul was lonely and eventually made friends. Paul was lonely, but eventually he made friends. Paul was lonely, although eventually he made friends. So you find that this semicolon is used to show two opposite ideas. Then the example, she studied hard for her exam. She had nothing to fear. So you find that example, it can be or. You can use or. Sorry. You can use or. She studied hard for the exam and had nothing to fear. So you find that where there's a semicolon, you can also replace it to use a conjunction. Paul was lonely. Eventually he made friends. Paul was lonely, but eventually he made friends. Then the next one is brackets. Brackets are also used to show additional information in a sentence. Remember when we were learning about a comma, we said that also a comma is being used to show additional information in a sentence. I hope you remember that statement. Ronaldo, the most famous soccer player, scored the winning goal. So from that statement, the most famous soccer player, you can put it in a bracket. You open the bracket, then also you close the bracket on the other side. Ronaldo, you open the bracket, the most famous soccer player, then you close the bracket to show additional information. Scored the winning goal. Example, the three men who were brothers went to the rugby match. So you can be able to see from that statement, those three men, they have added more information. They were brothers. So who were brothers has been put in bracket. In fact, that statement can be correct without using in fact, that statement is correct without using who were brothers. You can say the three men went to the rugby match. But now, since you want to add more information, the three men who were brothers. So who were brothers is going to be in bracket. Went to the rugby match. Commas or dashes can be used instead of brackets. So you can also use dashes, or maybe you can also use commas. Example, the old man who lived on the island came to visit us. You can also now decide to use the dashes. The tennis match, dash, which was played on Tuesday, dash, was won by Sally Williams. So you can be able to see those dashes has been used to show more additional information in a sentence. Then another punctuation mark is ellipses. ellipses are just 3 dots. So the 3 ellipses dots indicates that the sentence is incomplete, or that something has been omitted. So they just mean that the sentence is incomplete or something has been omitted. Example, he walked to the edge of the cliff and he walked to the edge of the cliff and then there is 3 dots. So you find that those 3 dots, they are just showing that the sentence is not incomplete. Another example, you add better give back my money or else there's also another 3 dots. So you find that those 3 dots or the 3 ellipses, they show that a sentence is incomplete or something has been ignored or omitted. Then another punctuation mark is hyphen. Hyphen. Hyphen links two words to form compound words. So if you find that there's a two word, there is a compound word, maybe a compound noun. In between that compound noun, then you must place hyphen. Examples: ice cream, well deserved, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, commander-in-chief, editor-in-chief. So you find that those hyphen should be used to show compound words. Compound words are words that have been made by two words. Then the second use of hyphen, links prefixes to words. Links prefixes to words. Examples: preschool, biannual, non-toxic, semicircle. So you find that those are words that are having prefixes: preschool, biannual, non-toxic, semicircle, etc. There's that NB, used if a prefix ends in a vowel and the word joined to the prefix begins with the same vowel. Example: re-examine, cooperate. Cooperate, instead of saying it's not going to be cooperate but cooperate. Cooperate. So you find that if there is a word that is having the prefix, the vowel that is ending in the prefix is just the same that is beginning on the same on the word, the next on the word, you have to use hyphen in between. Re-examine, cooperate, etc. Then another use of hyphen, words that cannot be completed on one line are linked to the next line using the hyphen. Maybe you are writing in your book and you come to find that remaining space is not enough. So you have to continue the same word in the next line. So you are going to write at the end of the line of your on your book. You just place an hyphen, then you continue with the same words, the remaining letters of the same words in the next line. NB, the hyphen, sorry, NB, the hyphen must be used at a syllable break. Example: the kids were always full of delightful surprises. So you can be able to see the word delightful is not full. Maybe the line was over, and this person had to continue with the same words in the next line. So you have to place. That's why the student or maybe that person wrote D, then put an hyphen, then continued delightful surprises. Then I think the last one, the last punctuation mark is dash. The dash and hyphen look the same but have different functions. So the dash and the hyphen, they are almost the same. They look the same but they have different functions. The first function, a dash separates parts of a sentence and forces us to pause. So it is going to separate parts of the sentence and force us to pause. Example, there's more to school than just learning. Friendship are also to be learned along the way. So you can be able to see from that example, the parts of that sentence have been separated and we have paused for a while. There's more to school than just learning. Friendship are also to be learned along the way. Another use of a dash, in order to give additional information, the dash serves the same purpose as the comma or brackets. Example, next week we are going to Cape Town, the friendly city. So you can be able to see the friendly city is an additional information in that statement. You can either ignore it, but since now it's additional information, you can use a dash to separate now the main sentence from the additional information. If you say next week we are going to Cape Town, that one is correct. That statement is very correct. But now you can add more information and say the friendly city. Another use of a dash separates a comment or afterthought from the rest of a sentence. Example, we look for the dark shadow and it was not to be seen, or so we thought. So you find that from that example, a comment has been separated, or the afterthought from the rest of the sentence have been separated. We looked for the dark shadow and it was not seen, dash, or so we thought. The last use of now a dash creates a dramatic pause leading to climax or anticlimax. I ran to the window, looked out and saw the cat. So you can be able to see there is a dramatic pause there. Sorry. I ran to the window, looked out and saw the cat. So there have been a dramatic pause. The dash has been used to show to bring a dramatic pause. Now that marks the end of the punctuation marks. I hope you have gained something. You have known when are you supposed to use a comma, when are you supposed to use a full stop, when are you supposed to use a question mark, when are you supposed to use exclamation mark, when are you supposed to use a capital letter, inverted commas, when are you supposed to use a colon, a semicolon, brackets, ellipses, hyphen, and dash. So I'd like to give you maybe 1 minute. You copy down those questions, then you try to punctuate them. You can try to punctuate them at your own. Make sure you follow those rules. Make sure you know the rules. When are you supposed to use this punctuation mark? So can you, for those who are copying, just copy it faster, and for those who are taking a screenshot, also take it faster. Then you just create your free time. You punctuate those sentences. Those sentences are not well punctuated. They are having some errors. I would like also to appreciate for you having my time. I hope you have enjoyed my lesson, and I hope also not only enjoying, you have also gained some knowledge that can help you somewhere, maybe in doing exams or maybe writing compositions. I wish you all the best. Continue subscribing to my YouTube channel, watching the previous lessons, liking and commenting.